Okay, this is your Genesis Mini. The 64 gigabyte USB memory stick is going to stay in your port 2. You don't really need to move that at all. And your hub is connected into port 1. This is the extra hub that I had here I'm giving you. And you can see here these are the two Genesis 8-bit DOE M30 2.4 gigahertz dongles that came with your controllers. That's plugged in there. You don't need to remove them. You can just leave them in, and that will stay in the port 1 as far as your hub goes. This is a volume slider right here. This doesn't function. This actually on the original Genesis it actually did something, but on the Mini it's just for looks here. This is your on-off button to turn on and off your console. The reset button. If you press reset once in this mod Genesis, it'll take you to a RetroArch menu, and which you don't really need to do that because you can exit out via your controller, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. If you get stuck somewhere or you're not sure how to navigate in the RetroArch menu that you end up in, or you're in a menu that's unfamiliar, you can always double tap the reset button. That'll exit whatever game that you're in there. That's it for the Genesis. Next is your controller that you purchased, which is the 8-bit DOE. This is the 2.4 gigahertz 8-bit DOE M30 controller, and so there's all your D-pad, your start button. Right there is your select button or back button right there. Select is the minus sign. Okay, and you have your A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and then up here is also LR shoulder buttons. So this is configured on your system for the L2R2 by default for all games. Super Nintendo, your LR is your shoulder buttons, right? But everything else, LR is Z and C over here, your left and right shoulder buttons. But for Super Nintendo, it is LR, except for Super Nintendo fighting games, which I have game remaps to use the six button configuration here, which is your 3 punch buttons and your 3 kick buttons here, which is your jab, medium, fierce, and then your low kick, medium kick, high kick right here on the bottom. To exit while you're inside of a game and you want to go back to a separate game, you don't have to double press that reset button. You can just do it from your controller on your couch by holding, pressing the select key and the start key at the same time. When you press the select and start, it will take you back to a RetroArch menu, which we'll show you in a moment how you navigate out of there to exit a game, and it's pretty easy to do. You can see here the controller is on, and I just press the start button to turn it on. If you shut off your Genesis, these controllers will shut off by themselves, but if you wanted to shut the controller off, you can just hold the start button like this, and you'll see it turn off just like that. So, and yeah, that's it for the physical part of your Genesis, and we'll show you how the OS and advice for some of the games there. Okay, on a side note, if you ever have any problems with your controllers and you're just playing one player, I give you a different kind of hub here, which has a switch, so you can actually switch the ports on and off. So that's port 1 and port 2 right there. And if you're playing one player, you don't need the other controller on. You just put it away and then turn that switch off, and it'll switch off your second port controller. So I made it easier for you in case you have problems with both controllers on at the same time. There shouldn't be a problem. It's just like if you're playing one player and you have 2 on at the same time, sometimes you got to turn this one on. So you don't have to worry about that if you're just playing a one player, just to avoid any kind of having to turn your second player on even though you're just playing one player. Or if you experience any issues, just switch off the second player like that. And but if you want to play 2 player and you are playing 2 players, it's okay to turn that on and play 2 players. You shouldn't have any issues at all. So I've labeled it so it's easier for you to see. Marked a 1 in Sharpie on the back for this one, and you can see there's a 1 right there for that first port. Same thing on the back. I labeled it 1. And 2, labeled that 2 right there. And I also labeled that on your dongle there on the second player port. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You know, if you're not using your second player controller at all, a good idea is to shut it off so you don't run into any problems, and there's no need to turn that second one off if you're just playing a second player. So, but yeah, otherwise you can just leave it on if you're playing 2-player. That's it. Okay, in this part of the video, we're going to show you how to navigate through the menus. You can see here in the controller video in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, there's the A button, B button, C button. So A is pretty much your enter button, right? So, for example, if I went into arcade and pressed A, you can see it entered into there. When you're in here, if you want to go back, you don't press B, press C. That'll take you back one menu, right? So, so you can do one of two things. You can, go in A button to hit enter. You can either go back, select the back icon, and then press A, or if you're within a menu, instead of selecting the back icon, you can select the C button. That'll back you out of anything, right? So if I go to arcade, and I drill down into fighting, then I drill down into Fatal Fury, for example, you can hit the C button to back out one directory, hit the C button again to back out another directory, and hit C again, and it'll take you to the main menu. Also, if you're several folders down, you can actually just select the home icon there and press A. That'll take you all the way back. So, pretty easy to do. So the first part here where you see arcade, arcade has unlimited continues. So basically you can have insert as many coins as you want. And typically for arcade, and this is the only system that will allow you to use unlimited coins, right? And that's going to be your select button, which is this minus sign right here. This will give you coins, right? So let me give you an example here. Just boot into a quick game. So arcade, I'm going to fighting. And I'm going to go to Street Fighter. And there's a bunch of Street Fighters here you can choose from. There's also a bunch of hacks. So let's go into hacks. That's always enjoyable. And I'm going to select, for example, Golden Edition of Street Fighter 2. It's a hacked version of Street Fighter. Press A again, and it'll start your game. And any arcades, you can do this. You can always press the minus button. See? And you can press that as many times as you want, get as many coins as you want, or continues, and then press start, or press A, And so let's go ahead and start that game. Pick right. So this is a 6-button config, 3 punch, 3 kick. Pretty simple to do. If you want to exit the game, you press the select button, which is this minus sign, and then the start button at the same time. That'll take you to this RetroArch menu. Now, this RetroArch menu that you see here with the little astronaut cat in the background is pretty dangerous, so you don't want to be in here. This is just to get out of a game, right? So when you press start select, you'll see this. What you want to do is you want to press the B button once, to get to the quick menu. And this is the quick menu is all the way to the left, right? You want to go down all the way to quit RetroArch, and you want to press A, and that'll get you out of there. So that's an easy way to exit instead of having to get up off your couch and then double tap your reset button, which you shouldn't have to do that. Easy just to go in a game, press select start to exit the game, and then press B to go back one menu, just to exit the menu, and then go all the way down to quit, and then press A. And that's all you got to do. So just to show you again, I'm going to go ahead and pull up another game here. So remember, you have the option of going to the back icon to go back, or you can just press C, to go back one, or you can just select the home icon and then press A, and then go home. So you'll get used to it, play around with it. You'll see what these buttons are for. But instead of using the back button, I like to use the C button to go back. So let's go back into arcade. Show you one more time. This time let's do Captain Commando. See here, I'm going to press the coin button there. Commando. And then start, or A, depending on what the game wants. and just demo the exit again, it's select, minus button, and then start, and then just press B, like that, you know, pressing B, and then you get to the very first menu line, and then you go all the way down to quit, and then quit. That's all you got to do to quit a game. And again, either that or double tap your reset button. There you go. So that's for that. Most of these games are pretty fail-safe. You don't have to really worry about messing anything up. The only thing that I would worry about if you see something like if you're in a MAME game, right? For example, Mortal Kombat. There are a few games in here that are arcade games, which there's a button mapped to your Z button, and you have to be careful with that because you can screw up your MAME configuration. So here's an example of, like, I think only Mortal Kombat is where you'll see this at. Just try not to hit that. Try not to hit that Z button because it's going to configure your menu. So let's start the game. There's Mortal Kombat, right? You can see, you know, all your buttons work here. You've got the freeze, kick. It's just, you have to be careful with the Z button. See the Z button? When I hit the Z button? Or actually, no. It's the R button. So if you ever see that, just be really careful. And don't select anything or touch anything anymore. Just select return to game. So it's this R button you got to be careful with when you're playing arcade games. So try not to hit that R button. That's not mapped to anything in arcade. All your arcade buttons are mapped here. So if you ever accidentally hit this, do not touch any of these menus. Just select return to game, press A, and it'll get you out of there, right? So again, to exit, it's the same thing. Double tap your reset on your Genesis, or select right there, your select button, the minus sign, and start at the same time. Like I mentioned before, B to get to the previous menu, and then all the way down, press A at quit RetroArch, and it'll take you out of there. So easy to do. If you get stuck in a like a menu in RetroArch, or like one of the main menus I was showing you, and you don't know where you're at, don't start just clicking stuff. Just get up, double tap your reset button, or turn your system off if you're in a weird menu. But that should happen to you often. So again, I have the choice to either select home, go back, or press my C button. I'm going to press home. And so you have Game Boy in here. This is pretty self-explanatory. You got A and B button. There's only 2 buttons on the Game Boy, so very simple. Exiting is the exact same way that you would exit from the arcade. So I'll hit C. Game Boy Color, same thing, 2 button, and very easy to navigate. Hit back. Game Boy Advance. Game Boy Advance had 4 buttons, so two A and B buttons, and plus the LR, which is going to be this LR and then AB over here. So not much to explain there. Just go ahead and you can launch most of those games. A lot of this are top 20, top 30, top 50 systems or games for each of those systems, plus must plays and stuff like that. All the garbage games that weren't worth playing are left out, so it's easy to navigate. Genesis, you'll notice when you go into Genesis, you have another Genesis menu here. This Genesis menu contains all of the games that are on the Genesis Mini. Whatever didn't come with the Genesis Mini, it's on the main. It's on the main screen here, like the extra games. So, and you'll notice some stuff that isn't included. Also, some hacks. So this is like a hacked version of Mortal Kombat. And you can see each game gives you a description. So if you hit back here, there's also like a hacked version of Mortal Kombat Trilogy that never came out on the Genesis, but it's like a special type of ROM. You'll see once you start playing it. That's it for that. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you that the B button, when you're in the menu, doesn't really do much. It just puts you into like a side view of the game, which is like a binder view type of thing. Which I really don't prefer it because you can't really see what game you're playing here. It's easier to just use the cover art. So remember, it's C for backing out of there, right? And then you have Nintendo, which is right here. So I've organized Nintendo into Castlevania, Double Dragon, Mega Man, Ninja Gaiden, Sports, translations, TMNT, Super Mario, pretty much all the NES, popular NES games that you likely played or had or your friends had are all in here. If you see anything missing, it's pretty easy to add. You know, just make a list of any of the games of any of the systems that you would like to see on this that you don't see. Just bring it over, and you can just wait for it, and I can just load it. It's not that hard to do. So, since most of the games are already here. So again, like I mentioned, C to get out of there. You also have PlayStation here. Now this is something new that I've never really played around with on these mini systems, but anything that doesn't use like an analog stick or you know, the extra right analog is what I'm referring to, was easily able to be put on here. So you have you know, fighting games. You've got Castlevania Symphony of the Night. You've got Tekken 3 on this. You've got all the later Mega Mans, X4 through X6. I think X1 and X3 were on the Super Nintendo. You've got Guilty Gear. You've got all these other ones here. Everything works great. You have Tomb Raider. You've got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Twisted Metal 2, which is the best Twisted Metal. You got Wipeout and a bunch of other stuff here you can test out. So, again, you know, if you're looking for anything in particular that you don't see here, and it's a game that you're sure doesn't use the right analog stick, because, you know, obviously this controller doesn't have one, just let me know. I can easily add it onto there. So we'll hit C, and here you also have 32X. So here in the 32X section, I've also added the Sega CD games, and everything here is mapped properly to your buttons on your M30 wireless controller. The only thing that you're gonna have problems with is the 32X version of Mortal Kombat. Now, even though it's mapped, you have to go in the game settings while you're in the game, and then go to options, and then switch it to 6 button for player 1 and player 2. That's the only game in 32X that you have to do that with. So yeah, everything works great. Let's back out of that. And you have TurboGrafx, just kind of a few of the best TurboGrafx out there. A lot of these are the TurboGrafx CD games with enhanced audio, and some of the gems that you've probably never heard of, never seen before. Even stuff like that translated in from Japanese to English. Pretty good stuff. So play around with that. This is RetroArch UI. This is the same menu that you go into when you try to exit a game. You want to stay out of this. So, you know, see a picture of a cat on a laptop, or a cat and the astronaut. You really want to stay out of there. So you can see there's all kinds of stuff that you can go into here and screw up. So if you ever find yourself in a random menu, or one of your friends was like, hey, where the heck am I? You know, tell them to stop what they're doing. Either shut the controller off, or if you you know, if you're comfortable with the menu, just do what you always do. Press the B button, and then, you know, just to kind of back out of the main section you're at, and then go all the way to the right to this, and then go all the way down and quit RetroArch. That's the most important thing. Anytime you see that cat with an astronaut, your goal is to get to the far left menu, go all the way down, and quit RetroArch. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I mentioned in the previous slide here, in regards to your controller, if you're just playing one player, on your special hub that I gave you, just make sure that the button for the player 1 is turned on. You can just turn off the player 2, because if you have both controller ports on the hub, it wants both controllers on, or, you know, it's gonna think that your second player is not, or your first player is not functioning because your second player is not on. That's just the way it is. But again, if you're playing 2 players, that's fine. Keep both controllers on, both ports on, and you shouldn't have any problems. But if you're only playing 1 player and only 1 controller is on, that's where you either turn the second controller on or shut the port off on your hub. So that's it. If you have any questions, go ahead and just text me, give me a call, and I'll help you out. And like I mentioned before, if you see any games, any systems here that you're missing and you want on there, just give me a list, make a list, come back, and then we can add it pretty quickly onto your Genesis Mini. Okay, and that's it.